Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Council Cabinet meeting today. And I'll start with apologies. Have we received any apologies?
Just apologies from Councillor Peatfield, who's on other council business.
Yeah. There are no late items, as far as I know. Item 2?
There's none.
No, good, thank you. Is there a receipt of any petitions?
None, Chair.
Thank you. Have we any identification of urgent items to which call-in will not apply?
None.
Thank you. Have we any declarations of interest? Should any interest emerge during discussions, please make it be known then if the steer of the discussion goes that way. Thank you. We now look at item 6, minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of February 2025, which are quite lengthy. On the basis that we've all read through those, are we happy that they are a true record? Yes, can we have a proposer? Councillor Martin, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Dinser. Did you have a point to make, Councillor Dinser? Sorry.
I think on the note I'm registered as being in attendance, but I think I was not here. So I was giving my apologies to the last meeting.
Okay, thanks for that correction. We'll approve those minutes on that. We then go to recommendations from Executive Scrutiny Board, and as is custom and practice, we'll deal with each recommendation as each item comes up. Yeah. So we now go to funding for New Arrivals Alliance, and that's item 8. And I believe Councillor Sarah Chambers will be talking us through this. I think it's been a really welcome development over the past few years that all those organisations and voluntary organisations and how the council has been involved has come together to form this New Arrivals Alliance, which makes a more coherent and cohesive approach to all elements of need that our new arrivals have. So with that in the background, I welcome now Councillor Chambers to talk us through it.
Thank you, Chair. This report requests the passporting of a proportion of asylum and resettlement grants received from central government to Community Action Derby, £322,000. The New Arrivals Alliance supports asylum seekers, refugees and those arriving through resettlement schemes in Derby through a managed and coordinated voluntary sector response. A key component of this approach will be the establishment of a single point of access, ensuring new arrivals' needs are assessed and they are provided the support from the most appropriate service to meet those needs. Funding for this alliance is wholly paid from government grants, the Asylum Dispersal Grant, Homes for Ukraine Grant and Afghan grants. Central government awards ASR grants to local authorities to support them in managing the accommodation, integration and welfare needs of asylum seekers and refugees. Council Cabinet will be requested to make a decision to accept ARS grants for 24-25 as detailed in the Financial Matters report. In making this recommendation, we considered the option of establishment of a dedicated local authority unit. The local authority could create a dedicated unit or department focused specifically on managing asylum and refugee support services. This unit would take a more direct approach to service provision while ensuring that all services are well coordinated and in line with the local needs. This would all provide a centralised structure within the local authority, giving it more control over service delivery process, but still allowing for the collaboration with voluntary sector organisations. This option has been discounted for the following reasons. Increased administrative costs, creating a new unit within the local authority may result in higher operational costs, including staffing, training and infrastructure. This could negate some of the cost effectiveness benefits associated with working with the voluntary sector. Bureaucracy and slow adaptation. Public sector organisations are subject to stricter financial regulations and slower decision-making processes. This could reduce the flexibility needed to respond quickly to the changing needs of asylum seekers and refugees. Duplication of efforts, if not coordinated properly with our organisations, especially voluntary sector groups, there may be duplication of services and inefficiencies. Supporting the voluntary sector provides cost-effective, targeted services that reduce the long-term financial burden on the local authority while enhancing community resilience and integration. Lower overheads and flexible funding via voluntary sector organisations, specialised expertise, access to additional funding, reducing future demand on statutory services, agility and responsiveness. Voluntary sector organisations are closer to the communities they serve and can adjust their services quickly to meet changing needs, building local resilience. On this basis, Cabinet are recommended toward this grant to Community Action Derby to carry this out. Thank you.
Thank you for that summary, and I'd like to thank our voluntary organisations which are involved in this, and there are a heck of a lot of them, for their tremendous work in getting together and being more coordinated and helping us to make sure that any new arrivals are integrated as fully as possible. Their help with their English as a second language, for example, and their routes to careers and economic life and work. So thanks very much to all those voluntary organisations. I will draw attention to 10.1 and all the positive features of this in terms of the city and how it benefits at large. So culture enrichment, building social capital, better mental and physical health outcomes, reduced public health costs, economic stimulus through service providers, government savings, human capital development, youth integration and education, and promoting a compassionate society. So all those things are something that we all benefit from as residents of the city. Have we any other comments?
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I think, as it says in 6.11, this development is based on a research phase which was commissioned by partners to look at how to best respond and coordinate as efficiently and effectively as possible services to this particular area of activity. And this is a second phase in terms of the coordinator being put in place, and then showing that the research and the work that's been done to set up this alliance is working effectively, and now we can move on to this stage, actually sort of developing fully. And so I welcome this report and the funding that's going to be made available to the alliance to deliver joined up, more efficient services in Derby, which can only be a good thing.
Thank you, very helpful, Councillor Lindsay. Any other comments? Executive scrutiny members? No comments at all?
I've got a few, if that's possible, Chair. Just the 322,000, how's that going to be distributed amongst the organisations? Is that going to be based on a need basis, or will it be on a grant application? Is there any idea of what percentage of the funds will go towards administrative costs against direct services? And the last one I wanted to ask was, how will the success of this be measured? You know, will it be coming to the council again so the public are aware, or will it go to an exec scrutiny board?
Yeah, good point. Is that in the recommendation? It's not in the recommendation from executive scrutiny. I mean, you raised some relevant points there. Would you like to speak, Councillor?
I can comment on number 3, because that was at exec scrutiny and I was there on Monday. We have accepted, or we will accept, I believe, a recommendation that in 12 months' time we will report back with the outcomes from this actual fund and the voluntary sector that are involved.
Indeed, I think the recommendation from executive scrutiny was 6 to 12 months. That could require a lot of work, and I think a clearer picture will be given after the 12-month period. So I think we're going to go, I would suggest that we go with an acceptance of the Executive Scrutiny Board's recommendation with the span of that 12 months rather than 6. For the reasons that it has an extra burden if it's done twice during the year when they should be getting on helping our new arrivals. And usually the top slice is something like 2 or 3%, and it is needed for administrative purposes. I don't think it's going to be far outside that in terms of what's top slice for all the things you mentioned. So I hope in this discussion you've been reassured. You have? Thank you. Yeah. In that case, then, we'll move to the recommendations on this item. When I can find them. Recommendations 3.1 to 3.4, and including in that, if you can, Craig, the request by executive scrutiny for feedback. Sorry, 2.1 and 2.2. The reasons are 3.1. My apologies. So, are we all happy or in favour of that? Yes, thank you. Right, we next go to item 9. East Midlands Combined County Authority, that's EMCA for short, UK Shared Prosperity Fund, which is shortened to UK SPF, local allocations. And just to preface, before I go through this, maybe not with the aplomb of Councillor Peatfield, I should say that the fact that EMCA is now taking over the administration of that, and the fund is devolved directly to EMCA and then passported to the 4 constituent authorities, of which Derby is one. There are issues about how that money will be spent and tighten it up so that it meets Derby's needs, but also reflects what EMCA sees are the needs in terms of growing prosperity, getting people back to work, etc. So, just to run through then. So, where the purpose is to delegate approval to accept Derby's 25 to 26 UK SPF allocation of 3.288 million from EMCA, subject to acceptable grant conditions, and deploy the grant to deliver eligible activity and required outcomes. The purpose is also to accept 0.3 million of 25-26 grant funding from EMCA to support inward investment and enter into a grant agreement with Marketing Derby to deliver outcomes for this funding. So, in supporting information, just so this, as this is a public meeting, I'll just go through some of the points. The UK Shared Prosperity Fund was a central pillar of the previous UK government's levelling up agenda and provided 2.6 billion of funding from 2022 to 2025. It sought to improve pride in place and increase life chances across the UK through investing in 3 investment priority areas: communities in place, supporting local business, and people in skills. The current government has allocated a further 902 million of national funding to extend UK SPF for 1 year. The funding for 25 to 26 is intended as a transitional arrangement in advance of wider growth funding reforms due to take effect in 26 to 27. As with the initial allocation, the fund's interventions will be planned and managed by local authorities across England. However, government has confirmed that the funds for Derby City, alongside those for all East Midlands local authorities for 25-26 financial year, will be allocated to EMCA rather than to Derby City Council. EMCA has committed to passing on a proportion of this regional UK SPF allocation on to local authorities. The funding allocation from government for the EMCA region is 25.17 million, including both capital and revenue components. The UK SPF is part of a UK government funding for places to kickstart economic growth and increase living standards. The fund aims to support 5 national missions by focusing on investment on 3 priority areas: community in place, and 12 sub-themes, for example, development of the visitor economy. The investment priorities and model are set out at 4.9. EMCA have confirmed that it will devolve the majority of their UK SPF 25-26 allocation directly to local authorities, and this will support locally delivered activities for this funding year. Derby City Council will receive a grant allocation of UK SPF funds for this local delivery. Revenue of £2,187,074 and capital of £1,106,49, giving a total of £3,288,423. For awareness, Derby's 24-25 SPS allocation was 3.9 million, meaning we have secured around 85% of our 24-25 allocation for this coming financial year. This compares favourably to the previously anticipated local SPS 25-26 budget. Our local allocation was boosted by new government formulae how UK SPF 25-26 should be distributed, which now factors in criteria such as deprivation levels, as well as by EMCA choosing to supplement the regional UK SPF capital allocation with £2 million of their own gain share funds. The UK SPF includes an allocation of 4% to be top slice from the total fund value for administration costs for the Regeneration and Economic Growth team, who will be managing the UK SPF programme for Derby. Just one final thing I'll talk about. Some of the ways that the money is spent. There are likely to be opportunities to help tackle the climate change emergency through projects that this funding will ultimately support, and this will be considered in informing how any interventions are designed and delivered. And finally, the extended UK SPF programme will create social value by reducing inequalities, fostering economic resilience and investing in local infrastructure, skills and communities to deliver long-term benefits. We will probably have some discussion about the Executive Scrutiny's recommendation, and Tammy Whitaker, the relevant director, is along to assist us if there is any controversy there. Have we any questions or statements from Cabinet members? Councillor Swan.
Yeah, I find it heartwarming, to say the least, that in 9.1 that we're talking about climate change, and in particular, when we look at the funding allocation, that we're also seeing revenue in there. I think we'll all know and understand that more than often we are finding things extremely difficult when, you know, we've got funding for capital projects but very little revenue, which means that we haven't got the resource to enable us to deliver on some of those key strategic priorities for the city. So, yeah, I'm quite excited about that, and let's hope that that kind of manifests into some of those key priorities that we've got around climate change and our new climate change action plan. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting this factor of taking into account deprivation in how it's allocated. Any comments at all from Cabinet members on that? No? Right, so if any comments at all from Executive Scrutiny members? No? We'll have a look then at the recommendation by Executive Scrutiny. The Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to note and welcome the report and ask Cabinet the details of the spending plans are shared with the Executive Scrutiny Board in due course. Entirely appropriate to ask that. I think that would be in our thinking when those decisions were made for a point of view of transparency, but also of good governance. One of the issues about details at the moment is that there is some toing and froing between the City Council and EMCA as to what exactly our purpose and aim is for use of the funds, so that it meets our needs, but also kind of fits in the jigsaw puzzle of how EMCA wants things to go. I don't know if Tammy wants to comment at all on that.
Yes, I can, of course. We have to prepare, as we always have done for UK SPF, an investment plan that sets out how that funding will be used. Only this time that will be sent to MCA. So we have to propose an investment plan to MCA for the 24th of March, which we're preparing. And once we have agreed that investment plan with MCA, then we're more than willing to share that with Cabinet and with the next exec scrutiny.
Thank you. We accept, I think, this recommendation with the understanding that goes with it that this will take some time to actually materialise into concrete things that we can communicate. I think we're happy to agree fully to that the details of the spending plans are shared with the Executive Scrutiny Board when they are fully material and concrete. Yeah. On the recommendations, I think there are 5 of them. Yes, 2.1 to 2.5. Any comments or suggestions? Are we happy to go ahead with those? Thank you. Thank you very much. And so we come to item 10, compliance with contract and financial procedure rules. Councillor Kozlowski, you're going to talk us through that, please.
I am, thank you, Chair. This report deals with 7 items. I'll take each one in turn. Firstly, public health substance misuse. The report asks for acceptance of a Section 31 ring-fence grant of up to £3.2 million and to delegate authority to enter into all necessary contracts and agreements associated with this grant funding. The grant is from the Office for Health Improvement and Disparities in 25-26 and is to support improvements in the quality and capacity of drug and alcohol treatments. An amalgamation of several grants that the Council has been in receipt of since 21-22. The grant will be allocated to existing contracted providers through Public Health Commissioners. Secondly, Micklova Primary School. The school has requested additional £255,000 worth of capital works to be included in the current capital scheme. This is to provide for an additional classroom, so to enable the school to expand their before and after school club provision. The additional works will be funded by the school. Recommendations 2.3 to 2.7 in the report deal with the necessary approvals and delegations required to allow this to happen. The report asks for a delegation to agree terms, enter a legal agreement and sign a third-party contribution letter and to approve the proposed additional capital works of around £255,000 once the agreements are finalised. The Council has been asked by the Department for Education to sign a third-party contribution letter to fund these works. As the school will fund the full costs of the additional works, the Council will enter into a legal agreement with the school governors for the school to fund the associated costs. The Council will sign the legal agreement with the school before providing the third-party contribution letter to the Department for Education. The third item in the paper is Household Support Fund 7. This relates to the acceptance of the Extended Household Support Fund number 7 for financial year 25-26 for an estimated £4 million grant and the associated delegated authority to continue to provide support to households who would otherwise struggle to buy food, pay essential bills and general living costs. We're still awaiting further details on this, so no final settlement as yet, so we're basing this on previous year's allocations. Fourth item, Darley Park Improvement Project. The report asks for approval to bid for and accept National Heritage Lottery funding of £250,000 and, if successful, to add it to the capital programme alongside 165k of Section 106 funds already earmarked for the park. The scheme, totalling £450,000, will support improvements to the site as detailed in paragraph 4.4.2. That includes refurbished play area, artwork with interactive elements, refurbishment of Ada's seat, access improvements. The next item, Home Office grants. The report asks for approval to bid for and accept 3 asylum and resettlement support grants from the Home Office up to a value of 2.6 million. This can be broken down between Homes for Ukraine to pay sponsors who support named Ukrainian guests. This is up to £500,000. Afghan permanent resettlement up to 400,000 to support the resettlement of Afghan citizens who have assisted UK efforts. And asylum dispersal grant up to £1.7 million. The penultimate item, debt write-off. In accordance with the Council's corporate debt policy, the report asks for approval to write off a number of individual debts, totalling 2.561 million. The detail is contained within Appendix 1 of the report. The service is going through a journey of improvement where we have centralised the debt function and dedicated a significant amount of time to it this year, and we are seeing improvements already. Just to put the figure in context, £2.5 million. The business rates income in Derby is 70 million, adult social care fees are 19 million, and sundry debt of 31 million per annum. So it's a small amount of write-off. Holiday Activity Fund is the final part of the report, and the report asks for approval to accept 1.465 million of grant funding from the Department for Education to fund family support by providing free activities and meals during school holidays in 25-26. The report also asks for a delegation on deciding how the fund should be spent within the grant conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kurlowski. Very helpful running through that. It's basically a no-brainer, isn't it? This is all money coming into us to meet needs that we have. They're very, very welcome, particularly the Household Support Fund being issued for a year rather than 2 tranches of 6 months. And it's lovely to see the holiday activities and food programme from the DFE extended for another year, and I hope beyond that it will do that, because it does a great deal for children who are in less well-off homes in our city to do all sorts of activities and engage in physical activity as well. So it helps with healthy weight and supports our healthy weight declaration. So it's really pleasing to see that. Are there any comments from Cabinet members? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that I do very much welcome the extra funding for our substance misuse treatment programme. This has been ongoing for a few years now, and the sums of money awarded to it are reasonably significant, and I'm pleased to see that is continuing and is being rationalised into one grant form. It's important that we do consolidate and develop those services, because we do have serious substance misuse issues in the city, and we need to be able to help treat people when they find themselves in that level of need. And if I may, secondly, I'd just like to welcome the Darley Park initiative. This is something dear to the hearts of myself, Councillor Swan, who may want to say a word herself in a minute, and Councillor Repton. We backed this initiative. We did analyse it in some detail initially, because it's Section 106 funding that is going from the Council. That Section 106 funding has been earmarked for parks and green spaces. It's not something we could have chosen to place elsewhere. So the Council's contribution is from Section 106 money for Darley and for its park. The other money, I hope we're successful, and it will really enhance the park, and I wish the team who are making the application all the best, and we will be ringing bells and shouting from the rooftops if they are successful. Thank you.
Councillor Onoha.
Thank you, Chair. Now, I want to welcome the recommendation on the debt write-off, but not just on that, but to look at it holistically and to say a massive thank you to the team who have managed in 1 year to recover about, if I'm correct, about £10 million worth of debt. And, you know, what we have now with the rest, the 2.5 million, is historic debt from about 2004. Many of the people who, or, you know, businesses have either wound up or some are in care homes, and sadly they can't be pursued. But I think it's important that we note that just last year alone, while some might want to focus on that 2.5 million figure, the officers, especially those in the finance team, who deserve a lot of praise. And I'm sure Councillor Dinzel might want to talk about how the use of AI was also instrumental in recovering about £10 million worth of debt, and that should be celebrated. Thank you, Chair.
So, some points very well made there, Councillor Onoha. Councillor Dinzel.
Yeah, thank you. On paragraph 4.6.1, I think it's the credit to the council that since 2024, a new debt policy has been introduced. I mean, the report we have here is a traditional report where every so often we write off debt. Some unavoidable, some we can be more proactive with, and the management restructure that's come into place to recover debt is showing positive signs already, and we made some good successes in the last year. And as it says in that paragraph, artificial intelligence automation will be key in terms of as a project to see how we can actually maximise and be proactive in debt recovery, so that we don't have to have so much debt write-off.
Thank you, Councillor Dinzel. Any other Councillor Kozlowski?
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to come back. In attempting to explain the write-off, I should like to correct myself. It is not a small amount of money. I was merely trying to explain it in the context of the overall picture. And as I say, it's an improving picture. Thank you.
I did see that as a comparative exercise rather than trying to play down the debt. Yeah, thank you, and I hope everyone took it at that level as well. Councillor Chambers.
Yeah, I just want to add about the Household Support Fund. It's really important that we've got it for a year, because it was just 6 monthly increments, as you say, and we kind of found out a month before whether we were going to get the next 6 months, which is really hard to manage. So this will give us a bit more stability. So just to put in a little bit of context, Household Support Fund 6, which was the last 6 months, as a minimum, has reached 44,387 people, the most vulnerable, really, and on low incomes in our city. And also just to reassure that we don't just get the fund and say, right, we're doing all this again. We're always looking at what other initiatives we can do, what other targeting we can do, because obviously it's a moving thing. So I just want to thank the team for kind of accommodating some of my ideas on that as well. Because, you know, we are seeing on a daily basis people struggling. So we target it and we move it around. We don't just do the same as what we've always done.
So thanks for bringing those points out, and also thanks for your leadership on this and the benefits that's accruing to the city, and particularly our most deprived residents. Councillor Swan.
Yeah, I just want to hope that we are successful in being able to attract the funds for Darley Park. I mean, Darley Park is, you know, one of our golden pearls. It's not very, you know, you can walk out to this council house right now and find yourself located in Darley Park. You know, and the park was donated to the City of Derby in 1929. So it's got a huge legacy for the city. And for those who haven't been there, there is a wonderful hydrangea garden that is supported by many wonderful volunteers. So I hope that this will create an opportunity to build on what we're hoping is a play area for children and young people to enjoy, as well as everything else that that park has to offer. So good luck to the team.
Thank you, and it's great to see that this is a real community focus for all sorts of reasons, and thanks to all those volunteers who help the wider community of Darley and the city, because the people from the city go to Darley Abbey. Thank those volunteers for keeping the place spick and span as best they can and making it really attractive. So I thought I'd just add that. Any other comments on this? It's quite a kind of a lengthy list of things, some of differing importance to different residents, but all as a package, a nice set of monies coming in which are badly needed and are targeted to people appropriately. What was the recommendation from?
Just to note.
The Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to note and welcome the report. Have any non-council cabinet members anything to say? No? Thank you. In that case, we'll go to the recommendations, of which there are a welter. So recommendations from 2.1 to 2.16 or 2.16, whichever way you want to put it. Are we all in favour of those as a block of recommendations? Thank you very much. Excellent. That enables the council to get on with it. We then move to item 11, which is to exclude the press and public. So we'll just wait for anyone who is leaving before we continue. And we check the public gallery. There's no one in the public gallery. No, thank you.